welcome back to Turning Hearts Podcast with me, Ryan Phillips, and this is Dennis Aldy. Thank you so much for coming back and listening again. How you doing?
Doing great. Excited to get together and talk some more, share some more, listen to questions. So, doing good.
Good. It's the weather's turning. It is getting. You never know around here if it's going to be summer, if it's going to be winter.
Yep.
So, fantastic. Well, we have a question. This is going to revolve around disagreements between spouses.
Now, you and your wife have never had
No,
this.
we never.
Okay.
We're perfect. We operate in full.
So you don't even understand the question.
I don't even really get what he's
Okay.
talking about, but for the sake of everyone listening, I've read that 80 to 90% of couples' disagreements are resolvable, and the remainder you just have to live with. Do you agree with that? And how do you discern which issues need consensus and which ones you just learn to live with?
Yeah. So it's a great subject. Disagreements. Life is full of them. I mean, marriage is full of them. In reality, I'm thinking of, my wife and our relationship, and there were probably some today. So what a great idea and reality of how do we handle them. Oh, it's huge because, you're wanting to have conversation. You don't want it to get into something big and everybody's fighting or not, but you need an answer. Your heart's wrestling. She's probably doing the exact same thing, so, and there's that desire to be together. I'll go to the exact first question as it was worded. They've heard that 80 to 90% of disagreements, they have the ability to be worked out. Mm-hmm. The other 10% you just live with. Do I agree or not? We may have a disagreement. No. I would agree probably.
Yeah.
That the majority of the disagreements we have, we work out. Mm-hmm. I agree that there's some that they're just not worth it. And when I say not worth it, and that would be a lot of my big answer to the question is, and if I had paper and maybe 15 minutes just to think, I could even put in order the steps I would go through, but I'll try to do that without having a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah.
But, categorizing if that's the right way, is this one worth it or not? That 10%, there's definitely these that just, my wife was telling a story, and I remember she showed it to me. It was the old Little House on the Prairie show. Mm-hmm. And, Ma and Pa Engel, I forgot their Charles Engel and his wife, he had gotten hurt real bad, but it was planting season. Mm. And their livelihood depended on him getting the crops planted. So when harvest time came, there would be a harvest and make money, pay bills. If that didn't happen, it's going to be a bad year. Mm-hmm. So he's the dad, and in the show there are these believers. They go to church and read the Bible, and so in the show it's Sunday. He's got broken ribs, and Doc's told him to lay in bed and rest. He doesn't feel like going to church, but he's just driving himself crazy. I got to get that seed planted. Well, Ma takes the kid to the church. She comes home, and he's out in the field with broken ribs, just aching, planting the seeds. And Ma just goes ballistic. She's done ballistic, but she's very mad. Mm-hmm. And she's so mad that she just won't speak to him. He's like, honey, we're not going to have food next year if I didn't do this. It's not that I wanted to skip church. It's not that I wanted to work on Sunday, because in that setting and culture, to work on Sunday was a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And all that. And so in the context of Little House on the Prairie, there was this ox in the ditch, I might say, scenario that they both disagreed with, but yet he did it. And so in the show, it's like these 2 or 3 days go by, and she's just mad at him and won't talk. And finally, they're laying in bed at night there, and he's reading his Bible, and she hadn't spoken to him. Her back's turned to him. And she just turns around and says, you know what? Being mad at you just isn't worth it. I forgive you. Let's go on.
Yeah.
And so there's so many of those. And I think, I'll say this, I think there's wisdom in finding those.
Yeah.
You know, every time, every little thing, no, it would be just too difficult, too much burden for the marriage to hold almost, the bridges to hold when we're picking up everything. Mm-hmm. So categorize is the wrong word, but what is it a matter of? Think about the level of it. And then, are they solvable? Yes. And it depends on, do these require a decision? If the disagreement, a decision has to be made, you know, because we believe in the order in our home, just like order in God's church and his, just everything, all of culture, all of the earth has order. He created with order.
Yeah.
You know, there's order in the home. There's the head of the house is the father, or the husband, and the wife is his helpmate. And so if a decision has to be made, a wise husband listens to all the counsel he can get. You know, come on, tell me. And well, I disagree with that. And I disagree. Well, we wrestle with those things. And I think the beauty is that if we could wrestle and it not be personal, now that
would be awesome.
Would be significant. And I'll just be honest, for most couples, that takes years to get to.
Yeah.
You know, because that year 2 to about year 7, it just seems like we're so tempted to take everything personal. For a lot of marriages, it's even like we're still trying to decide if we're going to stick together. I mean, so if a disagreement, maybe we just need to call it quits, but hopefully we don't believe in the separation. I mean, you know, hopefully that there's just this commitment that I made a covenant here. Yeah. And so I've got to work it out. It's like I had a pastor tell me one time, Dara and I were in a real tough season. And she actually got in the car and I'd gone, you know, I was at work, came home, she wasn't there. And I was like, what do I do? I mean, I don't know what's wrong. And she had left, and it wasn't like she was leaving forever. She just needed to get out, but she didn't tell me, so I didn't know what to do. So I called my pastor. I was a pastor of a church, but I called the pastor that I submit to. And I called him up and I said, hey, what do? I don't know where she is. What's going on? And he said, well, she called me and she told me that she was just needing to get out for a little while and she'd probably be worried. And he made this statement to me. He said, I don't know what to do to help you. He said, but I can tell you what, you're going to be married with her till you're dead. Might as well make it a good one. That was his whole advice to me. I mean, so to argue about things that don't matter aren't going to make those 50, 70 years of marriage good.
Yeah.
So there's this quick process where really ask yourself, is this one worth it? Can I just get over this one?
Yeah.
If it requires a decision, like we have to decide by tomorrow at 3:00, we work together. We listen to each other's point of view. We've prayed together, hopefully. Mm-hmm. You know, sought it for days, if possible, if the time's there, you know. And if necessary, because I believe in the order of God in the house, then as the husband, you know, you say, baby, sweetheart, I totally hear your point of view. Maybe you even recite it back to her. Mm-hmm. So that you are sure you're hearing it and she hears you're hearing it. But I have to make this decision. This is the way I'm going to go. Let's pray right now that this is right. And let's even give the Lord, I pray this prayer all the time in those type situations. And let's even pray that if I'm right and your part was right, if I'm wrong, and what you want to do is right, that God in his mercy in our marriage, if we go ahead and choose this way, he's going to flip it for us somehow. He can, and I could take a long time and talk about probably 5 significant major life decisions where my wife and I kind of went through our process of sharing. What do we think? What do we think? What do we think? Well, you know, no, I think this way. Well, you think that, yeah. And it had to have a decision. And so praying, and finally I say, we're going to do this. And it wasn't so much in most of those that my wife disagreed with me, but I made a decision, and there was this prayer, Lord, if we trust you, if this decision is wrong, will you flip it and put us in the other option? and literally probably 5 times miraculous. I mean, no way. One was the sale of a property that we thought we might have made a mistake, but I had given my word. So do I break my word because but I stuck with my word. Mm-hmm. Dara and I, we had talked about it. We agreed for the sale because I had said I would sell it, even though we were finding out it was a major mistake financially. Mm-hmm. And so I called the guy up and I signed the paper to sell it because I had done it. And supernaturally, the guy that wanted to buy it had to back out. So we got the other answer, pursuing the right,
Yeah.
So again, God does that. So pray that. That's a great prayer.
Yeah. It's an exercise of faith.
It's
it's another way we always hear the saying, it's impossible to please God without faith.
Yeah.
And we always just think, well, I believe in you.
No,
but that's a real good practical way to say, hey, I'm making this decision. I'm doing something.
Yeah. I have faith that you'll help me.
You'll bless it one way or another.
Direct that
I'm doing
shift.
the best I know how. And if it's wrong, I know that you just study the life of David a little bit to realize he can do that.
Totally. Well, and so now what if it doesn't require a decision? So that's just a disagreement. You think the curtain's white and I think it's green.
Yeah.
If it's curtain, it's not worth it. Let me just go ahead and say that. So that's a bad example.
That's extreme.
Bad example.
I like what Mike Bickle said one time. He said with his wife, when it comes to the house, you have a yes for me.
Yeah.
And that just wiped out a bunch of disagreements because he just went ahead and said yes.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, and those are the different personalities of couples. Yeah. I know men that could care less about what the house looks like, and then I know some that when they come home, it's just innate in them. If the house or even the way it's decorated, it really affects them, and so those have to work that disagreement out slightly different. But find those is what I would say about that. It's a great statement when it comes to this. Give it up. That's a good one. But it's subjects like, should we homeschool the kids or not? Now, that one probably requires a decision at some point. So maybe that, again, what church do we go to? It eventually requires a decision. How do we disagree? Should we, buy something? That most of them end up in a decision. And ultimately, we don't want it to be that we disagree, but it's nothing personal. It's just perspectives, and we want to work together. We're a team. And I have to make the decision, so here's the choice. Otherwise, I really just think there's a lot of prayer that goes into it. There's, husbands, I would say this. I had to learn, I think we do all learn, when we can let it go, let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, and take the time to say, can I just let this one go? If you can't, then you can't. So, that doesn't mean you're meaner and stronger and more argument. No, it just means I'm going to have to keep working with this one. And again, maybe there's boundaries we set. And I think I've gotten into how do we handle the disagreements more than just, do I agree that there's this 80 to 90 and 10%? Boundaries in our marriage are so huge.
You can frame things to avoid a lot of disagreement.
Well, and
the automatic yes on some things and some boundaries.
Totally.
What about the things that aren't going to be agreeable?
Yeah.
Is there things in a marriage that just end up being, and it's not a wife necessarily being rebellious against her husband.
Sure.
Or vice versa, the husband just being unwilling to live peacefully with his wife, but they're just disagreements that. Yeah. And what do you do?
Yeah, I think the big thing is to keep a big picture. Again, if we disagree on some type of an issue, and it's not, again, for me, if it's this major issue of faith or something, or the direction of our children, we need to work on that till we come to something.
Yeah.
All right. But if it is just this matter of disagreements, as a husband, my advice is, hey, anytime you can give in on it, do it.
Yeah.
And then maybe there's a few times you won't because you just don't feel you can. I mean, we're looking for that way to give in is the point of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes as husbands we get tempted, well, I'm the leader, and if I give in, I didn't lead. No, that's not the definition of leadership.
Yeah.
Again, in my opinion, the definition of leadership is the initiator. I initiate the conversation about the disagreement. That's the hard one.
Yeah,
that's the hard one for me. You know, and that's the one that just, because we just soon be quiet and just keep.
Just make her happy.
Yeah. But no, I'm the leader,
Yeah.
so I initiate that we're going to have a conversation to get to the bottom of the disagreement so that we can then choose. And here's the number one thing in all the disagreement. I said it a minute ago. Let's spend time on a date. And we do everything on a date, but you don't have to. You know. Let's spend time not in confrontation, working on the understanding that we are on the same team.
That's good.
Even though we disagree, we're on the same team. And you know, for us men, the way I learn how to do that best, obviously I've been doing it in marriage for 30 years, and I still work on it, is when I was on the basketball team. You know, guys there had different, you know, we had a common vision, and we were on the same team, but we wanted to do it different sometimes.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was a coach that had authority that often would direct that. So again, authority helps. But I never quit my team because you disagreed with me. And that's, I think, the attack on our marriages is that, oh, we got to break up. Oh, no, this is the wrong person. And no, we're covenanted together, commitment till death do us part. We're a team that can't be broken. So when you disagree, it's not that you don't like me, or you're saying I'm stupid, or you're saying I'm idiot. You know, I'm just a bad person.
Right.
No, you just disagree with me.
Yeah.
And if we could talk about that's normal, and just as a conversation, say, you ever thought about that it's normal for people to disagree? Because the big picture is we love each other. That is the big picture. You know, I can even say not long ago in my marriage, I was thinking about some things that my wife and I had kind of talked about, and I wasn't sure I liked how we talked and how it went. And I was really wanting, do I need to talk about it again? You know, I'm going through the guy thing. This is what we do. I'm a leader.
Crack that open again?
Yeah. And I thought, you know what? I mean, literally, this changed everything. These thoughts. I went, man, we've been married 30 years. I got at least 30 more to go, I bet. I'm not fighting. There's no argument here. Well, if we're just going to have to separate, that's not, because that's been an argument 20 years ago.
Right.
We're mad at each other. It's all about you versus me.
Yeah.
And who's right and who's wrong. We want to mature to where that is not. And so as leaders, I encourage men, be affirming that is not what this is about. And now that's even language and tools of language when we have to bring it up.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to talk about something. So I'm probably getting to you got another question about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and mention it.
And it just leads into that. And that is, so there's an issue. You were leading into it a little bit with your story, just, and how maybe there's an issue with a spouse. I guess we'll just address both of them just in case there's some wives out there listening. But there's an issue in your spouse and you want to bring it up.
Yeah.
It's going to be, husband comes home. I know we just talked about the house, but say it's that husband that really cares about the house, and it looks like a tornado went through the house. And so he wants to bring that up, but he just got home from work and is like, man, I don't feel like getting shot today. So,
and I don't know how to bring this up without it being offensive to my wife.
Right.
I mean, I think that's a real thought in that.
So is that, it goes into that question just in the way of saying, do I just live with this and just maybe bring it up when the time is right?
I tell you this, I think there's some good thoughts here. When we approach these disagreements, and how do I bring them up, for the spouse bringing it up or the husband, take the time to step back and say, okay, let me really think about this. Is this happened, because we always use the wrong language saying, when I come home, the house is never cleaned up. Words like never should never be used.
Absolute.
Or you always.
Yeah.
Or every time. In a conversation with your team, those words should almost never be used. Mm-hmm. So think about that, and you're wanting to bring something up. Ask yourself, what are they truly characterized by? Mm-hmm. And we'll take the cleaned house. Has it really been 50 out of 55 days in a row? Did I also take into account that we've had company for 4 weeks straight? Mm-hmm. I mean, so there's so many variables that if we would step back and say, no, let me take an objective look at what is bothering me, what I want to bring up in the marriage, a disagreement possibly. I may be fixing to start an issue. What are they characterized by? And be honest. If there's been company 2 weeks and then they weren't here a week and then there was another and then our dog had puppies and and then there was the neighbor's father passed away and we were then you just say, you know what, this is zero issue. I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah.
But and again, I would say that the clean house probably is a very small.
Yeah.
But it could be one.
Yeah.
And so debating as to how much.
Or it
but
could
let's
be
say you want to talk about it.
Yeah, the wife could also,
You don't pick
think
up your
the
stuff.
husband is, leaving his stuff around, or maybe he's being sharp with the kids when he comes home, and she wants to bring it up to him.
Yeah.
But she's like, if I even, bring that up, it's going to be
an argument.
Yeah, so.
What gets rid of the argument is when we have a vision and picture for the family that we love each other, we're committed, and I'm not here to attack you. And the truth is, here's the truth, is you, Ryan Phillips, and me, Dennis Aldy, do you know what I need? Number one, well, let's say number 5 need in my life, besides the love of Jesus. And number 5 need is I need somebody I'm willing to trust that I will let to show me my blind spots. Mm. And I won't kick them out when they do it.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that's supposed to be your wife or your husband. So that's a vision for marriage right there, is to get to the place. Because they're the closest person to us. Nobody knows me better. Nobody loves me more if I'll choose to believe it. Mm-hmm. But they're the one person I won't ever let correct me. Because they're not for me. They're against me, and they're just trying to...
Yeah.
See, I can't think... If those are the thoughts, the disagreement subject is unanswerable.
Yeah.
We're not going to get to the bottom of it until we get a bigger picture. We understand we do love each other. And that's, again, this is how I would approach it in marriage. Hey, sweetie, let's me and you grab some coffee in the morning. The kids are going to be asleep, or tomorrow afternoon. Let's grab the coffee. I got something I want to talk about. I'm the initiator, if you'll notice.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm not bringing up issues. I'm just bringing up the concept of, I was thinking about us. We've been married 3 years. High five.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful. You know what? There's been some real difficulties. Mm-hmm. And there's but we've been married 3 years. We're going on 69 or 28, 78, 50, 100. I was thinking about, how when we have disagreements, could we make just kind of like this team motto? Phillips team motto. We're going to disagree. We both agree that we're going to disagree. Would you be willing to just pursue real hard? Because I'm making a commitment to you right now, even if you don't. I'm going to do everything that I can in the strength that the Lord gives me and by my choice to allow you to say something that I could take offensive, but I'm just going to understand you're here to help me, not hurt me. And so when we disagree, I want us to be able to talk about it. And if you feel like I'm losing it, you do give me the sign. And I'll go, I'm losing it. And I won't take that offensive. And if I feel like, and so you're working out tools and boundaries and vision for when we do disagree. Yeah. And so if you can have that date, and that didn't offend anybody, it shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because we're going to disagree, and wouldn't it be great for us I keep pointing at me and you. We're not married. It's a good thing. For me and Dara, for you and Morgan, it's a good thing for us to work out. How do we want to approach conflict before we get in conflict?
Yeah.
Outside of that conflict. And then I would say this one, how do I know when to bring something up to my wife, or how should I? Man, don't ever do it that you hadn't prayed a while.
Yeah.
And you hadn't taken that step back and said, what are they characterized by? Are they doing this 40% of the time? Or 80% of the time? And that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Most everybody messes up 30 to 40% of the time. So you're bringing up something that, think about it, 70%, 60% of the time they do it right, or the way you prefer.
Yeah.
And you need to focus on the 70 or the 60. And then someday, maybe when she brings it up, you say, yes, sometimes I don't love that as much, but you know what? Every time I try to get offended or frustrated, I just think, man, I'm so glad we got 60 more years together. And that commitment, that's like in this time, just thinking about my wife and some things, I just went, you know what? I love that we're not fighting to get our rights. And it just took the argument away. I thought, I just want to talk to her about, I was hurt over some things. I mean, it hurt. Men get hurt.
Yeah.
And we got to find a way to communicate that.
Yeah.
Our wives tend to be better at that than us. And that's why we're, oh, I didn't do that. Yeah, you did. No, I did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
We're disagreeing and conflict. But I just realized, we're in this thing for life.
Yeah.
Does this one matter? Start thinking about 80 years and decide if this one matters.
Yeah.
Are they characterized by it? Have you prayed about it a lot? Is there a Bible verse that would help you communicate it? I mean, I'm always like, Lord, you give me a Bible verse and I can say it.
Yeah.
And then you always approach defending the person you're talking to. If it's an issue.
Yeah.
And that would be a thing, I want to bring up an issue in my spouse. Issues in the house or in the yard are way easier than issues in your spouse. And I almost would suggest do everything you can to erase the reality or the mentality that there's an issue in them.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's got issues. But if you can take a step back and say, her family grew up this way. This is the way they did business. His family grew up this way. This is the way they communicated. So this isn't just some dark thing in them. It's just naturally who they grew up. So that minimizes it from an issue to just differences.
Get on their side.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Get on their side. Your team.
Yeah, your team. You're supposed to be on
I can't say that enough.
Yeah.
We're a team, so a team needs to talk about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's real wisdom. I've thought about things that I've had to bring up, and I can pray for them for 30 days, literally, or 5 days if it's more urgent, and then I think, okay, I want to let her know that I don't think this is her heart. So that's great language. Hey, sweetie, I need to talk about something, and Dara uses this language to me. I know your heart would never do this intentionally, but when you do it, it really affects me. So can we talk about that? And then you even say, because I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to get your perspective on because my perspective, and got to realize my perspective is mine.
Yeah.
Probably nobody else's. And begin to give each other those abilities to have a perspective, and then watch in that conversation, watch. All of a sudden the husband goes, you know what? I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing your perspective. And an argument ends like that, or a disagreement. It didn't get to an argument. Wife may do the same thing. Golly, I had no idea.
Yeah.
We trust that good in each other, that really deep down we would only honor each other. And then there's those language or those conflict igniters that I noticed that every time I come home, the house is never clean.
It's a good sign you're not on the team side.
No, that's when you decided they are wrong and they got real problems. And I have yet to meet a person. Now, I know Jesus, but I haven't like met him in the physical, because I figure he could have done this, that appreciates having a finger pointed at them and told they're a bad person, hinted at, that there's bad things about them. Mm-hmm. Because I may not be great at cleaning the house, but that doesn't make me a bad person. It just means when I grew up, that wasn't a big value in our family.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to have that big value now.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of something wrong in me.
Yeah. I'm not doing it to assault my family.
So we learn to believe those things about our spouses. Mm-hmm. And it really takes that level of conflict down on the disagreement. There's a lot more we could say about it. Another thought or?
No, I just think that's good. I think we've talked a little bit about family nights, but it seems to take the same kind of path. I mean, the non-confrontational training of your relationship.
Yes, totally.
And say, do it on the date night or the couch time. I'm sure we'll talk about, and just getting some time to just, hey, and like you're saying, just defending the other person, bringing up
it's huge.
The joy of relationship, this phrase that I've been in love with lately, just being given that both heirs of the grace of life together.
Yes.
It's just really, and you say something that I love too, is just say, hey, we both got the same Father.
Yep.
And just lifting the marriage up, exalting it, and saying, let's tweak this little thing.
Yep. And that takes time.
Yeah.
You think about any relationship you have, it takes time for you to get into those stages. Mm-hmm. Now, marriage will get into it a lot faster, so that's good. It'll expose a lot more of your offenses way faster, obviously. But if we begin to apply those truths and those tools or principles, whatever you want to say, we can begin to mature in them instead of it being, oh no, I know we got an argument coming up, we got to talk about, I don't want to do it, and we put it off and we put it off, and we're, and I understand putting it off to pray.
Yeah. But
we got to work out this, you said training of the relationship. It's the practicing and the setting, I call them boundaries or rules maybe of what we will allow.
Yeah.
I will allow you to criticize me. And maybe you say, we heard this one before. You can say one negative thing to me, but would you mind just saying 3 good things about me first? Because it helps me hear the negative better.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
You go find a buddy you got that just loves it when you criticize him, truthfully at the heart level. Because that's what we hear is you're criticizing my heart when a spouse says, you just never clean the house? Or why come you don't? But if we eliminate that criticizing of the heart and just say, I know it's not your heart, but I prefer the house when it's a little cleaner. How about when I get home, I always take 10 minutes and help you? Mm-hmm. Instead of demanding something done. Again, so many scenarios, you can't work them all out just here on a recording.
Right.
And because this one's a little different, but I don't know.
We got some plans in the future of possibly doing some recordings of actual family nights. And trying to model a little bit of how, because some guys, we can answer all the questions here, but they still get home and they try it. In fact, I got another question for another episode of just, I've tried this and it's not working.
Yeah.
My kids don't pay attention. We get upset. We just all go to bed.
Yeah.
So.
It's so it's so real.
Yeah. So
we've all been there.
Just to work, it's something you just got to keep working at. And my wife and I are not good at this yet. We're still working at just the communication, get on each other's team, and so we totally get the struggle of it.
Yeah, amen. We all do. It's real, and it's God's way. Again, I think if we were alone in life, so to speak, we would never have the opportunity to repent, forgive, grow. Mm-hmm. Marriage is really giving us those opportunities to repent, forgive, and grow.
Yeah.
So it's really it's to our advantage that I gain that ally. We almost need to create T-shirts for our spouse. And it says, you're my ally, you're on my team, and I'm willing for you to show me my blind spots. Yeah. If we could get our marriages to that point, all of a sudden, we're fixing to be better people.
Yeah.
I don't have to defend. Now, there's those that abuse that and they're constantly saying the negative, but that's where, again, let's say a negative if we've said 3 positives. Those are just, they sound like a little cliche, we're too mature to do that. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not
really-
that mature. You need that.
Yeah.
Those are, we need those things in relationship.
Yeah.
I won't say something negative until I've said 2, 5 things that we've done that in family time, talk about, go around the room, I want everybody to say one thing that they really like about each other. Go around the room. All right, let's do it one more time. Go around the room. And then I tell you what, now that we've said 2 things that we really like, I want you to be kind, and I want you to say it unoffensively, but you're allowed to say one thing that's not your favorite about each other. Just so we can learn that and learn how to say it and
Say it
and then be fearful to say it, because we don't ever want to criticize, but that's life.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's getting that stuff out there and
learning how to do those relationship skills are huge.
yeah.
So,
I feel like at the beginning of marriage, when you get into it, you're married, maybe you're a year, maybe you're a weekend, and you just kind of realize, like, what, this is marriage? Like, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
yeah.
And then you spend, some marriages spend a year or 2 just trying to figure out how we can get out of this,
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so much more, especially in this subject, so much more as you get to where you guys are at, that's so valuable about having somebody that can, like we've talked about it a lot, just being completely exposed and completely loved.
Yeah.
And that's a great thought. I mean, where me and my wife are, that's a great thought, but we're not there yet.
Well,
But
and my wife and I,
companionship.
we've been there, and then we're tempted not to be there the next time. I mean, so it's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
So powerful.
Amen.
Marriage is wonderful.
It
Miracle,
is.
isn't it?
Thankful for it.
Well, thank you guys again. That's all the time we got this time, but just stay tuned. If this is your first time listening, we got a couple other recorded. Go back, listen to them, subscribe to whatever platform you're on, and we just sure appreciate you guys listening. And,
Amen.
And we appreciate Dennis just in the wisdom. We've talked a little bit about having a father of and that has wisdom, and there's a bunch of fathers out there that have wisdom, and some of them don't have any chance to share that with any sons or daughters that are willing to ask. And there's a bunch of sons and daughters out there that, man, I just wish I could have somebody that would tell me how to do these things in a practical sense, not just a preacher from a stage or something like that. So
Amen.
we so appreciate you
Amen. It's a
and what
blessing.
you guys have gone through and be able to share, put it into practical steps. So don't forget, if you have a question, we really want your questions. Anything you got, parenting, fatherhood, motherhood, marriage, whatever it is.
Specific children, boy, girl, certain ages, anything.
Yeah, get them as specific as possible.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say we have the answers, but I'm convinced we all need to have the discussions.
Yes, that's good.
And that's our heart for this, is I don't know that I have the right answers, but I'm convinced something that we might say might give us a vision, might help us and move forward in these subjects. And it's necessary. I needed it.
Yeah.
And so thankful to be here.
Where can they send those?
Dennis@turninghearts.com. We also have info@turninghearts.com. Either one of those would be great.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Amen.
God bless you.